Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, February the 8th, 2023. Jersey Johnny coming at you with me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Say hello, gentlemen.
Howdy, folks.
Hello, gentlemen.
Happy Wednesday. Is it Wednesday?
It is Wednesday. All day.
Wednesday, and we're starting almost on time.
Almost on time.
So exciting. It's so exciting.
It is very good.
It makes me
almost
very,
like
very,
a real podcast.
It makes me very, very, very excited.
Exactly. Pete, you're looking kind of dark today.
Peaked.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. Well, just very quickly, as a loyal Jet fan, I'm showing support for Aaron Rodgers. Because I know after the Super Bowl, he said he's going on like a 4-day blackout adventure or whatever.
4-day darkness retreat.
Yeah, that's it. So I figured I would do a darkness retreat to show that there's a lot of us Jet fans who would love to have him here in New York. Unfortunately, everything after the Super Bowl is booked up. And the only time I could get was starting about 4:30 this afternoon. So
now, did you have to go to a special location? Are you in like the South America?
No, I'm in the man cave. There's just a lot of garbage bags and duct tape on the windows and stuff.
So a typical Friday, really.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. Not that much.
When you look at it that way, yeah, sure.
Right.
It's not that much difference.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
well, as long as you use the really good hefty bags, I think you'll be fine.
There you go. Beer Samurai just wrote in and said, "Hello, darkness, my old friend." So
that's right.
Yeah, I also shot out the street light in the right outside the house.
Well, that helps too. Yeah.
Yes. You think it was the street? You think it was the street light? Actually, the power is off in the whole neighborhood now.
No, that's the next.
It was the transformer they actually shot.
I told them I didn't want the farmer on the pole out at the end of the driveway. Just the light would be fine.
Right.
There you go.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm going to be going pitch dark here for the next. I don't know how many ever hours are in a day minus 3 hours or in 4 days.
I thought you were going to do this until Aaron Rodgers decides what he's doing.
Join the Jets.
I thought about that, but I can't stand not looking at myself for that long.
Right, and plus, your side hustle would be. I don't know. Maybe it's something new. And
maybe it's OnlyFans audio. OnlyFans audio. There you go.
There might be people that'd be willing to pay more.
Right.
For just the audio of
just
OnlyFans.
Not looking at it, not having to look at it.
That out. See, you're a marketing genius, Harry. I'm going to test that out.
Right. I think if you eat a cheeseburger inside a plastic bag in the dark, you got something going on there.
I think you're right.
While wearing like manacles and stuff.
Well, we don't know what you're wearing. I mean, that's the whole thing.
Right. That's the thing. I could be anything without actually having to do anything.
You could look like Jane Fonda from Barbarella for all we know.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, on that note, so you're going to stay in the dark.
Rollicking start.
Right. Exactly. You're going to stay in the darkness the whole show
for the next 4 days. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. We'll see how that goes. Hold on. Got to do that. All right. So tonight we have a special segment for you. Not segment, if you will, but we have a special guest. We're going to start having a couple of guests on the regular show as opposed to just the special shows that we do with guests. And tonight we're bringing on, please welcome to the show, former ESPN reporter, NFL reporter for ESPN, Mr. Al Gattullo. Welcome to the show, Al.
Al,
what's
welcome.
going on?
Welcome. I mean, unless I missed something, I think Al is officially our first guest.
No, we've had guests on the special shows we've done.
Oh, okay.
Right, because we did a couple of Mets shows. We had a few guests on for. But as
far as this, our
main show,
right, the shows that I've attended.
Right. Oh, that's true, because you're not on those shows.
This is my first guest.
So. This is your first guest.
Welcome.
There you go.
Welcome.
Well, I'm sorry. Sorry to disappoint.
No. This is our ratings are going to skyrocket. Just wait. They're going to
absolutely.
The YouTube.
You're going to go from 1 to 2. It's going to be great.
That's maybe even 3.
That's double.
It could even get to 3. I would like that.
Double. Welcome.
So welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming out tonight. We got one more comment from Mr. Samurai. He said, "Happy International Scotch Day, gentlemen."
There you go. Scotchy.
Hey, Al, it's about time this show got some class. There you go.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Dave. We appreciate it too.
That's right. Yeah. We got you don't know this, but you're going to be on every week now.
Oh, I see. All right. Well, listen, it's the way it goes. What can you do? What can you do?
All right. So let's let's jump right into it. There's that. What's that game that's coming up this Sunday?
Something's happening.
It's that some big game. The other thing. Mega, you're talking about whatever. Yeah,
Mega Bowl
the Puppy Bowl.
Puppy Bowl.
Yes, the Puppy Bowl. There you go.
There you go.
So Chiefs Eagles. I mean,
Chiefs-Eagles.
This is a pretty good matchup. I mean, you're talking about two quarterbacks who are mobile, who can move around. Eagles have a very aggressive defense. So do the Chiefs. I think this is a game. I think people are expecting a shootout, and I don't necessarily see it that way. I know the line is 1.5 right now. I think that line's going to move. It's the Eagles right now at 1.5. I could very easily see that line move to maybe 4.5, 5.
It started at 2. It started at 2, and it moved. Moved towards the Chiefs. I think you're right. Everything you said, I think, is spot on. Here's what really, I don't know if we have a great barometer of what the Eagles. I mean, we know what the Eagles offense could do. It wasn't like they were the 49ers didn't lose they didn't lose their quarterback on defense. So we know that the Eagles, the game might have been closer had the 49ers not had the quarterback conundrum that they did. But man, did the Eagles in both of their playoff games just run over people, and I mean they're scoring like a college basketball team.
Right. So that's the thing. I think you really have to look at how the Eagles got there. They dominated a Giants team that really couldn't get anything going after the Giants got things going the week before against Minnesota.
Right.
So okay, you look at that and you go, all right, so the Giants aren't ready, for that primetime appearance. The 49ers get their quarterback knocked out very early in the game, and they essentially have to run the ball, and the Eagles know they're going to steamroll. Now they're coming up against a team that can play and play dominantly. That's where I'm a little worried about the Eagles, because really the first two opponents they faced really didn't put up that much of a fight.
No. Right. And this opponent also in the Chiefs has, not everybody on the team, but a lot of them on the team, especially the coaching staff, has Super Bowl experience. It's their third Super Bowl in 4 years.
So, you have the most dominant tight end in the game in Kelsey, who can catch and do whatever he needs to do with the ball. You've got a quarterback who, now, let's face it, he's had a week off. He's had time to rest the ankle. So I don't think that's going to be a consideration at this point. It's not going to affect his game.
No.
So you've got a guy who can move around a little bit. And Eric Bieniemy, as an offensive coordinator, has done very well. I could see them dialing up a few little different, trick things and use Mahomes in a way that that's a little more unconventional. Whether or not the Eagles defense can contain him, that remains to be seen. So, I mean, I want to see the Chiefs win, and I think they're going to. I just don't think that, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be closer than people think. I think this game is going to get decided probably by 6 points.
Yeah, I still don't know who's going to win. I can't make up my mind. And the thing that concerns me is the Eagles defense, as good as they are, they haven't really been tested yet.
Right.
And going into a Super Bowl where you're going up against the first team that's going to be able to do anything offensively against you, is kind of who knows what they're going to do.
Well, that's what I mean. He's got the safety valve. He's got the safety valve in Kelsey. They have a pretty good wide receiver core. I mean, this is guys that can get vertical and get down the field. So you're right. The secondary of the Eagles has really yet to be tested in a meaningful way. See what happens if they can't get at him with 4 or 5 in the box, and they give Mahomes time to throw. And again, let's remember, he's not a pocket quarterback. He's going to move.
Sure.
So if he can get out and escape a little bit, he can create things. We've seen him do it before. So
and you mentioned before, like you dial up Eric Bieniemy dialing up some trick plays or whatever. Let's face it, half of the regular plays, Mahomes makes them trick plays. But the way he tosses the ball and just he's looking that way. Here you go, and.
Right. I mean,
and he's
very
got running backs he can throw to also.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
That's what I was going to say, Pete. That's a good point. It's almost as if, everybody wrote off the Chiefs because they lost Tyreek Hill. And they do have, some trick, quote unquote, plays, but they've almost become a more conventional offense. And because of that, I think they're more consistent in a lot of ways. I think the big question mark is, the Chiefs defense has looked good, but the Eagles offensive line is yards ahead of what the Bengals offensive line is. And so there's just a lot of question marks in this game. I mean, and Mahomes' health, while I agree with you, the 2 weeks obviously, helps. Right. But, it was halfway through that game and he was already hurting again. So it does take a little bit away from him, as good as he is, I just don't know. This might be, I think, the closest matchup on paper in the Super Bowl that we've had in a long time.
In a while, yeah. I mean, it's certainly the first 2 number 1 seeds in the Super Bowl.
Right. It might be only for the fact that if they played this game last week, I certainly would have given the edge to the Eagles because I don't think Mahomes would have been, 100%. He probably would have been about 75%, which is still far better than a lot of the other quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
Very true.
But I think that would have been more evenly matched. I think now with the week of rest and, he's probably laid off that ankle for quite a bit and they've given him a ton of treatment. I think it's going to be more of an even matchup. I think you've got a rookie head coach getting into the Super Bowl with a seasoned veteran who's been there 3 out of the last 4 years, kind of knows what he's doing. He's sort of dialed it up. I don't want to play the whole, it's Andy Reid trying to beat the Eagles. It has nothing. He has nothing to prove there at that point.
None whatsoever. It's not like he just left the Eagles.
Them,
He's been out of Philadelphia for, over a decade.
Right.
Well over a decade.
So that's why I think that this is a game where you look at the head coach of the Chiefs and Andy Reid, who's had much more experience at being in Super Bowls and knows what to do in that big game, where Sirianni may let his emotions, run away from him a little bit and, may make a mistake or two, calling a play or, putting personnel in a certain spot. And then you've got a rookie in Hurts, being in the game for the first time, essentially.
Right.
And how will he handle the big stage? So that's why I sort of give the edge to the Chiefs here because they have all of the experience going in. Mm-hmm. Having said that, could Philadelphia pull it off?
Yeah,
they certainly could. I think they're much more evenly matched than people really give them credit.
And look, after Hurts got hurt and the Eagles had a little bit of that, just what 1 game losing streak towards the end of the season.
Right.
They turned it back on. And every time you sort of doubt this Eagles team, as unconventional in some ways as they are deep. They are the deepest team in the NFL. They have more talent at all positions, maybe not at the top positions, but overall, this is the deepest, most talented team across the board on all 3 sides of the game.
They have a more talented second and some of their third stringers than some first stringers in the NFL right now.
Right. So, clearly they do. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's good. The good thing is I expect that it's going to be an entertaining matchup. It's not going to be, the Chiefs running away with it, 20-21 up in the second quarter. I think it's going to be much more evenly matched than people expect it to be.
In fact,
but I think the Chiefs pull it out.
Yeah, and I think the Chiefs will probably have to come from behind, which is kind of what the Chiefs do.
which is their moniker, right? That's their
right. One thing I wanted to touch on is we talk about Mahomes' injury, but do we really know where Jalen Hurts is?
No, that's a good point.
As far as his shoulder goes. So the question I want to ask is, which team? Let's say those injuries are hampering, let's call them, but not debilitating.
Right.
Which team is better equipped to compensate for that? The Eagles compensating for
the Eagles, yeah,
and the Eagles, or I mean, because look, the Chiefs, like I said, they do have running backs they can throw to. They do have a running game, so the Eagles are better off,
right?
Let's just
but having said that, Mahomes goes out first drive with a backup quarterback right down the field touchdown,
right?
So
Mahomes in the AFC Championship game. So a week and a half ago, with a bum ankle, Mahomes was 29 of 40 for 43 for 326 yards and 2 TDs.
Right.
And Jalen Hurts, pull up those stats, in obviously the same weekend, was 15 of 25 for 121 yards.
Right.
So that's to the point. Right. So they were just running and running. He wasn't throwing. He threw 25 passes.
Really,
there were most of them short.
Yeah.
And
I mean, if Holmes is hampered and can't scramble, yes, that's a part of their game. but he could still throw the ball downfield. He could still hand the ball off. He could still run plays.
Here's the one thing
if
I will
Hurts
say.
can't throw down the field or throw much more than an 8-yarder or a 12-yard pass or something like that, then they have a great offensive line and a good running game. But you stack the box against anyone, you can at least slow that running game down.
I think that's a good point, Pete. I think that the difference is that I think Hurts can and has. He just didn't need to. I think that's. I mean, it didn't look like he was hampered throwing the ball. It didn't look like.
I would tend to think his injury is more healed. Let's say than Mahomes.
Mahomes is. I just think the other thing with Hurts is that it's kind of hard to statistically gauge his impact on the game. Mm-hmm. He really is kind of an anomaly. Even as much as Patrick Mahomes is a one of those quarterbacks who can do it all, Hurts kind of does things that are we haven't really seen in a long time. And the Eagles run a very different type of offense.
Okay.
If it's me and I'm the defensive coordinator and I'm Steve Spagnuolo, I defend where I can in the secondary, but I stack the box and I go after him for the first couple plays and dare him to throw the ball.
Yeah,
throw it deep. If he can't throw it deep, then they're going to have problems. Then and then all Steve has to do is, hey, bring 6 in. You don't even have to stack the box with 8. You could stack it with 6. You can go 5 and just run a hybrid guy from the outside and just continue to just chip away. I think the key is it's not about, sacking Hurts, every third play. It's rattling him enough to get him off his rhythm. The Giants beat the Patriots both times in the Super Bowl. Why? It's not because they sacked Brady. They just knocked him off his rhythm long enough to make sure that he didn't make plays that killed him. So I think if you do that,
Steve Spagnuolo is one of the guys that did it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Exactly. And I think they just need to take the Eagles out of their game. It's like you're right. Test them. See if they can beat you vertically.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, and you kind of got to put a spy on Hurts too, because he doesn't have to beat you with his arm. He can he can beat you with his legs very easily too. Well,
and you could say the same thing about Mahomes. Maybe
but probably not as much this.
Not as much with the injury. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't imagine there'll be any designed running plays.
No.
For Pat Mahomes.
No. Although you never know.
Probably not.
That's true. That's a good point.
He will run. He will run. He will get yardage.
If there could be if there could be a designed running play for a 40-year-old Peyton Manning in the playoffs, then there certainly could be.
That's true too. That's true too.
That's true.
Just when you least expect it.
That's funny. On another note, I'll ask you your opinion. Julian Love, defensive back for the Giants. He made comments the other day that Nick Sirianni is on a free ride to the Super Bowl on the backs of his major dogs. He called them dogs, right? But the talented team. Basically, on Good Morning Football, he said that pretty much anybody could coach this team. That's how talented they are. So whatever. I mean, whether or not that's true. I mean, there's plenty of talent on Philly.
Sure.
But whether or not that's true, the fact that he said that now, here he is praising all of the Eagles, players, but he's putting down the coach, and of course, the players jump right back, and they're defending the coach, right? What are your thoughts on him making that comment?
If you don't think that they've taken that now and put that on the bulletin board for next year when they face him twice,
right?
You're out of your mind. They're absolutely going to use that as a motivation for next year. But look, they can blow off his comments right now because they could say, "Hey, look, not only did we beat you, but we're in the big game and we're going to take care of business. Who cares if he can coach or not? We're here now." I listen. I think they're big believers in Sirianni. I think that Sirianni has done a good job. Do I think that another coach could have gone in there and coached that same team to the number 1 seed and to get them into the Super Bowl? Yeah, I don't doubt that. Again, we've talked about it. They're stacked top to bottom. Their second and third string guys are better than some first stringers on a lot of teams. So, yeah, I think anybody could have walked in there and coached that team. But guess what? Sirianni's the coach, and he's the guy who's coaching that team.
And it's not just the coach. I mean, it's chemistry too, and it's also the coaches, the coaches underneath the head coach. They said people said the same. Shaq and Kobe did not win a championship until Phil Jackson came along.
Right,
and it wasn't just Phil Jackson. It was who was with Phil Jackson and the systems that they brought.
But here's the thing. Sirianni, the smartest move that he did was to lay off calling a lot of the offense this year.
Absolutely.
To give it to his coordinator and take a step back and sort of see the whole field. Sometimes these guys who are offensive gurus and now all of a sudden they come to a team, and now they're running the team, and they still want to have control of the offense. Some thrive and they do okay,
right?
But others, it's too much for them. They can't handle all the traffic. So kudos to him for saying, "Hey, look, I'm going to be the mature guy and step back and let somebody else make those calls. So this way, I can see the rest of the field in the bigger picture." And it worked for them. Right. So you got to give him credit for that.
That's a great point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a great point. I mean, and also Julian who?
Yeah, exactly.
If it was the only people covering that were local New York and New Jersey media, that's about it. Yeah.
Well, listen, it could have been worse. You could have said Sirianni is the modern day Barry Switzer, and they would have gotten the Eagles and the Cowboys both.
Well, nobody would have said anything on Twitter.
Although a lot of people would have quietly from defending Switzer. I think
a lot of the what's the generation under millennials? The
Gen
Z, right? The Gen Z, right?
Gen Z.
Which we got most of the Gen Zs would have been like Barry who?
Even millennials don't remember Barry
Switzer.
Yeah,
exactly.
98% of our references are elder Gen X and over.
Exactly. On that note, and somebody said last week, I read this, that the quote was, "Is it just me, or does Nick Sirianni have a more punchable face than Sean Payton?"
Oh yeah, you know what? He does. Because he has that look on his face. He has that Philly look.
Right.
Well,
you know what I mean? He's got that Philly arrogant kind of, F you, it's whiz without, it's this, it's that. Like it's just something that you don't like that attitude.
John, we got to put a poll online. Most punchable face NFL coaches. Well,
I don't think Peyton has that much of a punchable face. I think he sometimes gets a little bit,
It's the visor that pisses.
It's the visor.
That's the visor, because you think he should be playing golf instead of coaching football.
But Doug Peterson wears a visor, and I really don't see that his face is a punchable face.
Oh, yeah.
You see Peterson on the golf course?
Peterson's really punchable.
Oh, yeah? Thanks. So it's the visor then. You're right.
Yeah, but
I think it's just if you have ever coached Philly.
There you go. Anybody that coaches Philly has a punchable face.
Right. Exactly.
Andy Reid, not so much, though.
No.
Anyway, okay. One other question for you
Sure.
On the Super Bowl, and then we jump to something else really quick. There was a thing going around, and I just want to put it up because I actually have this graphic. Somebody actually put it up the other day that the NFL scripted, obviously, and it stemmed from all of the bad calls, especially the ones in the Philly 49ers game. Not that the 49ers were winning that game by any means, without a quarterback, but and then some of the calls in the Chiefs and Bengals game. But the conspiracy theorists and everybody else is jumping on the bandwagon. They're saying, "Oh yeah, it's scripted." We even posted the reel with the NFL scriptwriters room. But somebody put this up the other day somehow, and I don't know where this came from. I pulled it off of Twitter. So this was posted the other day. Kansas City Chiefs 34, Philadelphia Eagles 37, the Super Bowl final.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Like it was already predetermined. That's the script. Somebody leaked. That's what they said.
Well, I mean, or did somebody just create a?
Of course they did. Of course they did. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, of course they did.
But no matter what it is, they created a graphic because the game didn't happen yet, so we don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
But
the league is not scripted.
No, and of course,
anybody thinks that is ridiculous. You want to say that the refs, maybe should have thrown a flag, shouldn't have thrown a flag in certain instances.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you. They were in that uproar with the Bengals when the linebacker, out of bounds, hitting Mahomes and people screaming. They should have never thrown the flag. He was 3 feet out of bounds and he hit him.
They couldn't not throw the flag.
It's the most unfortunate.
That had to be called. It was unfortunate, but it had to be called.
Exactly. So you can't sit there and bitch and moan. That's the way the game is.
It is what it is. Right.
Right.
Arian Foster, former Houston Texan, just played into it and just trolled everybody, trolled all the conspiracy theorists, saying, "Oh yeah, we get the script in training camp every year, and our practice is practicing our plays that we need to do to stick to the script." So I thought that was funny.
There's been studies that show that the referees get less than 5% of calls wrong in the NFL, and of course
it's a human game.
It's a human game. Now, if you watch, if you follow John on Facebook during any football game that it's, his graphic is a little different. It's 97.3% of all calls are wrong. But so it was unfortunate. I mean, man, I felt sorry for that guy. And look, if that penalty doesn't happen, we don't know if he makes that field goal, and we don't know if it's not the Bengals in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, it's also tied, right? Because it's and it goes to overtime. So that doesn't mean that the Bengals were going to win.
No. That sort of sealed the deal right there.
You got it. So
we know you got to run. Quick question: yes or no?
Sure.
Aaron Rodgers going to end up on the Jets?
No.
Right.
I think there's salary. I think there's salary.
Hey, there he is.
Hey. I think there's salary cap issues. I think, does he really want to come to New York? He's going into this mountain retreat or whatever, or dark or this and that. I don't know if the Jets necessarily want that headache. I know they got Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator or whatever, and that's, maybe a prelude to whatever. But I just don't see them renting Rodgers for a year or two to win a championship. It's not to say that Woody Johnson doesn't have the money and would do it. I think he would. But I just don't. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is a good fit in New York.
I don't think you can bring him a championship. I don't think they have enough support staff for him.
Correct. That's the thing.
Second question: Saquon Barkley, is he back with the Giants next year?
I think the Giants are going to give him as fair a deal as they expect to give him, which is probably a little bit more than what they offered him. Before the season started. I don't think they're going to break the bank for him. I love the guy, but running backs they can get anywhere. He's a dynamic player.
I think he does know that.
Where he was, dynamic, finally showing his dynamic thing. Is he worth $16-17 million a year? No, I think he's worth about $14.5 million. If
that can get you 2 receivers and another, offensive lineman, then you can do running back by committee.
Right. I mean, look, the Giants have the money because they have the cap space. They're going to have a lot of cap space, but you've got to sign one or the other, right? They can sign Jones. They can give him a deal and they're going to, and they're going to, push money down the road for him.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah. But and still do a deal with Barkley, but it's not going to be what Barkley wants. He's not. They're not making him the highest paid running back in the league. I just don't see the Giants.
I don't know that Barkley wants to be the highest paid running back in the league.
Oh, I think he does. I think he does. Yeah. Otherwise, he would have taken the deal before.
I think Barkley winds up on the Jets.
You think? Interesting.
I'm going back in.
Here's the problem, and then here's the problem with that, and I have to go. The Jets don't have the cap space to sign. They're way over the cap right now.
I know.
The Giants have more space to sign Barkley than they do.
A lot of teams don't have the cap space to sign him. That's and the teams that do, I don't know if he's going to be happy going there just for money. He's got a better chance of building a legacy by staying in New York.
All right, I'm going to leave it with this. Here's the prediction.
All right.
Daniel Jones is back without a doubt. Saquon sort of test the waters, comes back to the Giants. They will both be on the team next year.
There you go.
All right. You heard it here.
All right.
Fair enough. All right. And really quick before you leave, Dave wanted to know what your go-to Super Bowl beer is for Sunday.
Something strong to start. Something light to finish. I have to get up at 3 a.m, so I can't really get that banged out. But I'm definitely doing like a 10-12 crazy percenter dark, as long as I'm still conscious after bruisology the night before. So we'll see.
This is true. This is true.
You go.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's going to be fun too. So
it will.
And it's still 11 o'clock too. So I'll see you on
That's
Saturday.
Right. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Al,
thank you. Thank you so much, man.
Al Gattullo, ESPN reporter. Thank you very much, Al. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, then.
Bye. All right. Pete, you're back in the dark, or are you coming back out?
I'm coming.
There you go. So
Al says no Aaron, so sorry.
Al
sorry,
says
Mr. Rogers. Go somewhere other neighborhood.
Al was
Mr.
like
Rogers.
your Groundhog Day reality check.
Yeah.
You know what though?
Aaron Rodgers Day reality check.
All right. Well, Pete? Do you want Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback?
Freudian slip.
Sign him for 2 years. I'm happy.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
Yeah.
So what you're saying,
Look,
if you get Mr. Rogers, it would be a beautiful day in the neighborhood, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's 4 teams that do not need Aaron Rodgers. Every other team should be happy to have him.
Yeah. Yeah, bring
This
him
is
in. You
true.
got the good defense. You've got offensive weapons, but I don't know how many years he's going to want, but you give him 2 and you go, come here. Maybe you can win. Nathaniel Hackett's already here. Take a shot. Get another ring. He knows he needs another ring to enhance his legacy, right? He's going to be the greatest quarterback who only won 1, or amongst the greatest quarterbacks who only won 1.
How did the Jets make that work, though? How did
if
the
he
Jets
doesn't
make
get another one.
How did the Jets make that work?
Yeah, I mean, with the cap space that they have, I mean, I know he's signed technically, right, to the Packers. So does it have he's opting out, I guess, so he's a free agent, or is he?
Well, no, they're going to trade. They
trade.
would trade him. So
Right.
they would want, a first or 2 firsts or, a bunch of picks and some cash. And maybe a player. I don't know. Maybe they give him Zach Wilson to back up Julian Love.
I mean, I think what set the table, unfortunately for you, was the Russell Wilson deal that Seattle got with the Broncos. I think that's going to be double. It's going to be double that. It's going to be double that.
That's the thing. You're going to mortgage your future to get a title now, and then you're going to, immediately, and then when he's gone, you're going to immediately start rebuilding.
Right.
But I'm fine with that if you win one.
Right. I'm fine with that too. At least you get. I mean, look, the Jets haven't won one in 54 years. Okay, so if they mortgage the future to get them a little closer to relevant and win a Super Bowl, yeah, it's worth it. It really is.
Yeah.
When it comes for the Jets, other teams it might not be, but for the Jets, it is worth it. So
because then if you suck for the next 10 years, let's say
you just won a Super Bowl,
then all of your fans are going, yeah, but we just won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. Well, it was only 3 years ago. Well, it was 5 years ago. You get a cushion. Right. If you win one,
you're going to suck for 10 years regardless. You may as well throw in a couple winning seasons.
If somebody looked at every Jets fan out there and said, you can win a Super Bowl next year, but you're gonna have to suck for 10 years after that, do you think any of them would say no?
I think everybody would.
Half of them would be hungover for 2 years anyway.
Just about everybody would sign for that.
Sign for that, exactly.
I
Speaking of hungover, Dave, Beer Samurai, wants to know from us, what about the rest of you? What are you drinking for Super Bowl? Pete, start with you.
Let's see. Well, if we do our usual, I'll go to the in-laws, and
it's a heavy drinking.
There'll probably be some Heinekens there.
Mm-hmm.
Some Coronas. I don't think they're not much of a craft beer type of crowd.
So no Coastal Brew Works. So.
No, I don't think they'll be. Well, I do have a few cans. I might bring
some yourself.
By the way, I did get. I don't know if I told you this. I got high praise from everyone that I shared Coastal Brew Works flavors with.
Beautiful.
They were all extremely complimentary. Like, where can I get these? When can I get these? So
Coastal Brewers.
Maybe I'll do that. But I'm going to be working all day, and so I'll probably only have one or two, and I'm going to be working on Monday too early.
Sure.
So
gotcha.
But yeah, I don't really drink that much. So I'll be a lightweight. I'll probably have a couple Heinekens or a couple Coronas.
There you go. Harry, yourself? What would you be drinking?
I don't know. I mean,
because I know you're in Denver, so there's not a lot of craft beer out there.
No, I'll probably have a Negroni. If I do watch the game, I may go for a brief period to a place locally here. Probably a Locavore lager.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. It's always good. Have you been up to Cohesion yet? I told you to go. Have you made it up there yet? I know you have gone up.
Very, very good. We have. Yeah. There are tons of very, very Beardstat. That might be another beer. If I go to another place, then it'd be a Beardstat.
Beerstadt, yeah. Beerstadt's very good.
But I mean, there's this. As since Al has left, there's 4 breweries that have opened and 6 that have closed. So
there you go. There you go. And just in Denver proper, not even going out to Rhino or out to
right. So you want to be in one when it's actually closing, and then they're just giving the beer away because they got to get rid of it.
Exactly.
Well, that's actually a true fact. Yeah, we unfortunately had one in my neighborhood that had to close, and I have friends who still have beer in their refrigerator from that brewery. Yeah,
there you go.
Well, that's the what is it? The proverbial silver lining in the dark cloud.
That's right.
I myself.
What about you? What are you going to be drinking?
Well, I will most certainly be drinking some Coastal Brew Works beer.
What is the latest Coastal Brew Works brew?
The latest Coastal Brew Works brew is the Nautical Twilight.
Nautical Twilight.
Twilight. It's this can right there.
No Super Bowl brew, huh?
Yeah. This is Nautical Twilight right here.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Right. It is a 6.5% coffee porter with locally roasted coffee. We actually sat down with the roastery and came up with a blend that paired well with our recipe. And it's got a huge coffee nose, but nicely balanced coffee and chocolate from the porter and a little bit of vanilla and some nuttiness. It's really, really tasty porter.
So you
Dave,
were going to call it Portlandia, but you decided.
I was going to call it Portlandia, right? But I decided not to.
Port Coughlin.
Exactly. So, but Dave, you can weigh in because you've had the beer and let us know what you think of Nautical Twilight. But I'll probably have a few of those and some of the German wheat beers that we've done. But I will definitely be drinking lighter beers because I'm not going to. I might crack one bigger bottle at some point, but I'll definitely be sticking to like lagers and the like from that, and probably mostly New Jersey stuff too. So
I'm just going to do heroin and
call it a day.
And then I won't care what I drink.
Exactly.
All right. Well,
anyway.
I mean, look, I wanted to ask you guys what you think about the big event that happened last night.
The big event well, before we get to that,
okay.
The big event we're talking about, we're switching gears.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Are we done?
Well, I don't know. Well, I'm saying, what event are you talking about?
I'm talking about what's the only thing that happened in sports last night?
Oh, that. All right, hold on one second. Dave commented in. Love that Nautical Twilight. Have a few that I may have during the game, along with the building sandcastles and a ton of boat, which is a carton brewing beer.
Freighter of boat.
Freighter of boat. Well, before we get to that, let me just wrap up a couple of questions here that I have for both of you gentlemen.
All right.
We talked about, obviously, we mentioned Sean Payton before when we were talking about the punchable faces. Harry, to your purview out there in Denver land, he's the new head coach of the Broncos. How do you feel? And anybody you talk to that are, Broncos fans out there, how do they feel about that move?
Well, I think in general, people are happy. I mean, Sean Payton.
He's no Nathaniel Hackett, I'll tell you that.
No, I think Sean Payton wanted to go to the Chargers. I think the Chargers were not ready to make that commitment based on what they would have to give up for Sean Payton. And I think he decided on the Broncos. I think he decided on the Broncos more. I think he's going to be here for a while. I don't think he said, hey, Russell Wilson, good defense, and no draft picks for the foreseeable future. Let me go here. Let me see what I can do in the next year and a half or 2 years. I think that it's certainly an upgrade. I think that he is going to build an offense that tailors what Russell Wilson has been able to do. I think the Broncos are going to look like the Seahawks did 10 years ago. They're going to be a team that's going to rely on the run and a short passing game. And he's going to do everything he can to leverage those defensive players that he has right now before, they have to start losing them and they don't have the ability to replenish based on their draft status. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good move. I think the Broncos are a better team than their record was. I think their offense was pretty miserable. I don't blame that all on Russell Wilson, but how I have always felt even before all this happened. I thought it was a big mistake for the Broncos to go after Russell Wilson. I thought his best days were over. And I think Russell Wilson is a much better quarterback when he is playing a different type of football. He is not, especially where he's at now. You're not going to run and gun with Russell Wilson and win. You're just not. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, agreed with that. I do agree with that. And I think Sean Payton is one of the guys. I won't say the guy. Maybe he is the guy. We'll see. But I think he's at least one of the guys that can, take Russell Wilson and play him to his talents and not put him in a position like Nathaniel Hackett put him in, where he has to run and gun, and he's not going to be that type of a quarterback. So I think it might not have been the best move, but the best move probably wouldn't have happened. So for all intents and purposes, it's probably the best move that the Broncos could have done.
Getting Payton? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And look, I think Sean Payton, he looked bored as hell announcing. He looked grumpy, just not coaching. I think he wants a new challenge. He's a coach. He's a good coach. Look, the Broncos have had a history of people saying, hey, their careers are over, coming here and having some success. So we'll see. Their defense is very good. Yeah. I just think the intangibles on that team and they didn't know how to win a game. It wasn't in their DNA to close a game out. And I think that's going to be the biggest impact that Payton will bring. I think there'll be a lot more discipline. I think their special teams will improve. I think their offense is going to be, it's still going to struggle, but they'll definitely be a little bit more consistent than what they were.
Agreed. Agreed.
And look, Sean Payton has already sort of made his mark, and maybe this is one of the reasons they did bring him in, because there was some question. Russell Wilson has like his personal quarterbacks coach, and he's got
right. Saw that.
He has an entourage, right? He's got a crew, and there was a question posed to Sean Payton about, is the crew going to be around? How are you accommodating them? And Payton basically, without saying so, he said they're not going to be allowed. He said, our as far as being in the building and being in the facility, he said our staff is going to be here, but those guys, see you later. They're not welcome. Again, he said it without actually saying it.
Right.
So he's kind of, he's going to do things his way, and we'll see how Russell Wilson responds to that, because obviously what Wilson has been doing so far hasn't been working.
No.
So I think that's one of the reasons they brought Payton in, because he has the gravitas and the chops to say, we don't do that. Get rid of those people. There's no reason for them to be here.
Yeah.
See you later. We have a staff, and we're going to do things our way.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. I think it's a great point. I also don't think Russell Wilson in today's world of athletes is alone. I mean, I sort of say, Russell Wilson.
No, he's not.
Russell Wilson's like the Topher Grace of football. It's like, I'm the big star of the show. I'm going to go out on my own. And no, I mean, he's a good quarterback. I mean, I don't think, if you ask me, I don't think he's even close to being a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think Russell Wilson's a good quarterback. He's a middle of the road quarterback right now, as far as just where he is in the NFL. He's way better than what the Broncos have had. And I think he can be a winning quarterback on a playoff team. I just think that you're right. I think that there is a little bit of a rift, and there's a little bit in the public persona of Russell Wilson and what I think actually is what's actually happening behind closed doors or on the field, in the locker room, is a very different thing. And I think maybe, just maybe, Sean Payton can start to, I don't want to say pull the rug out from that, but massage it a little bit so that it's not so apparent.
Yeah.
I think he could keep Wilson happy. Look, Wilson, stars do deserve certain treatments, but they're all stars. They're all multimillionaires playing a game. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, what does that really do to the team's morale? What does that do to the chemistry of the team when it's obvious that there's an abundance of princess treatment going on?
Yeah. Agreed. And I think that Sean Payton stands a better chance of having Russell Wilson buy into letting him as a coach, handle his training staff, if you will, as opposed to what he had with Nathaniel Hackett. Obviously, right. I mean, that kind of goes without saying, but I think that's the case.
I mean, if you were to ask me who the Broncos should tailor their offensive scheme after, it's the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it pains me to say it, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. On another note, last weekend, Sunday, and it started on Thursday because it was different this year. Pro Bowl games, the new Pro Bowl games.
Did I see them playing flag football?
They played flag.
Yeah, they did.
They did. They played flag football. They played flag football on a 50-yard field.
I'm not.
It wasn't a 100-yard field. It was a 50-yard.
Why
field.
was Pete Davidson there?
All right, here's the thing. There was the captains of the teams. Eli Manning was the coach of the NFC. Peyton Manning was the coach of the AFC. Pete Davidson was the captain of the NFC team. Snoop Dogg was the captain of the AFC team. Okay, so now obviously this is more of an entertainment thing, right? This is not football. This is not sports.
I bet the ratings were higher than it's been.
The ratings were higher than they have been any time recently, but. They had a bunch of games. They had some write-in votes for best catch, where they actually put them up and write in. You got text in to vote for who you think has the best catch. Mm-hmm. Whoever gets the most votes, obviously that was that. But
American Idol style,
of course, right? And then, but you had some other games too. They had dodgeball. They had accurate throwing. They had a bunch of things. And each team, the AFC was literally throughout all the games was blowing out the NFC, but the flag football game accounted for the most of it, and the NFC won the flag football game. So they edged out the AFC. So anyway, so Eli Manning coached the NFC to victory, and he proclaims that he's a much, much, much better coach than Peyton.
Well, yeah, he's the lesser quarterback, so he's probably the better coach.
Yeah,
He's a
Because of
lesser.
the fact
You know
that-
what? He's a lesser quarterback in the regular season. I think he's a better quarterback in the postseason. But
Well, they both got 2.
that's true. But Peyton had more chances.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Eli
this
made
was,
the most of his, that's for sure.
This whole experience was not designed for us
No.
or guys like us. It was designed to bring in a younger audience.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? Given what the Pro Bowl has become,
Right.
I think this is a great move, right? Because no
Right.
one was watching,
Right.
right? Last year they sort of played for what, about a quarter and a half, or maybe the first half, and then like they didn't even tackle.
You
You
know
because
what?
nobody wants to go out and get hurt. Nobody really wants to go do this.
The few clips,
some of the marquee players aren't there.
Right.
So
right.
change it up, do something different. Why not? You might as well.
Well,
Have some skills competition with the linemen involved, right?
Right.
Or they're pushing
Right.
shake it up. Why
The
not?
few-
What
the
does
few
the NFL have
clips-
to lose?
The few clips that I saw, the thing that came to my mind, and this is my genius, is that what they should bring back next year on Pro Bowl weekend
Mhm.
is Battle of the Network Stars. Now you can't call it network stars anymore because there are no fucking network.
Battle of the streaming services
That's right.
stars.
But
Battle
do it
of
with
the-
the AFC and the NFC.
Battle of the TikTok stars.
Even better, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not a bad
exactly.
idea.
And what I think is they should intermix celebrities with actual Pro Bowl players so that Snoop Dogg could throw a pass to Martha Stewart to win the game.
I love it. That'd be great. And she gets tackled out of bounds.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it wasn't something that I was
it's like a Snickers commercial.
interested in watching myself, really. But I'm not lamenting the death of the old Pro Bowl because it died a long time ago.
Yeah, like I wasn't being rhetorical or whatever. When I said I really don't think I've watched a Pro Bowl since Dan Fouts
Facetious.
played.
Yeah.
Facetious. I really haven't.
It's become a joke. So the NFL is nothing if not always looking to broaden their audience, right? So why not do something different? Bring in some. Listen, I don't know if. I mean, Davidson, okay, he's getting a little long in the tooth to really be what's the latest generation, Gen Z?
Pete Davidson?
Gen Z,
Oh, he's the stick man. He's
the
slaying
every
supermodel in sight.
Yeah.
Now Snoop, on the other hand,
I'm shocked he's not dating Gisele Bundchen already.
Snoop now looks like his dad.
Yeah, Snoop
looks
is
like
not
Snoop's dad.
It's not the
Snoop,
guy that all
not Snoop
kids love.
Dogg, Snoop
I
Dad.
mean, he's an OG, but
Dad dog.
he's not exactly. He's there for guys like us.
I don't
Snoop.
I don't think the NFL was going to be able to get a Kardashian or who's a big movie star, Jason Momoa, to be a team captain.
There you go.
No,
There you
probably
go.
not.
Could you
That'd be
imagine
great,
Kim Kardashian as one of the team captains?
She's got tight end.
Well,
Yeah,
could
but
just get the family to be cheerleaders.
Well, some of them. Oh, never mind. I'm not going.
By the
there.
way,
Anyway,
20 years of the Kardashians. 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Shoot me now.
19 too many.
There you go. Well, technically, 29 years of the Kardashians.
All right, whatever.
Well, no, obviously. Kidding,
What's the next topic?
No, and then one other thing I just want to leave football with was Leonard Marshall's brother.
Leonard Marshall's brother.
Yeah, I don't want to leave this.
Thurgood?
I want to leave this till Sunday or next week.
Thurgood Marshall?
Thurgood Marshall, right? Exactly. Marshall Tucker, actually.
Okay.
Leonard Marshall's brother plans to sue the Giants for $10 million because he was kicked out of last year's Giants Hall of Fame ceremonies at MetLife when his brother got inducted into the Giants Ring of Honor.
Is that really $10 million worth of a crime?
Why was he kicked out?
Because apparently one of the Giants front office staff was given wrong information or not exactly true information that he was in a bar fight or got in a fight at Giant Stadium or the night before and everything else and was arrested. So she did not want him in the stadium for the ceremony and banned him from the stadium. So he's now suing the Giants for $10 million, and he has a separate suit against her. And Leonard Marshall is quoted as saying he's not backing up his brother. He has nothing to do with this. He's calling it a frivolous lawsuit, and he wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Sounds like James Dolan was running the guest list at the.
Oh yeah, like they employed James Dolan's facial recognition.
Facial
software.
recognition, yeah.
I don't know. Is it that hard? Do you need facial recognition to recognize
Leonard Marshall's brother?
No,
suppose not.
Again, you guys are in a little bit of a bubble of soft news days in the New York metro area. Yeah, this is a okay.
All right. Well, we've talked about obviously Super Bowl. We'll do more on Sunday. We've talked about the Giants and the Jets briefly. There's nothing really to report on baseball, so let's turn our.
Well, actually, I have two quick things.
Go ahead.
Very quick. This happened. What's today? Is the 8th? Is that today?
Today's the 8th, all day.
So 6 days ago, February 2nd, banner day for the Miami Dolphins as Tua Tagovailoa finally cleared concussion protocol.
There you go. So he's able to play next week.
After 38 days.
He's listed as the 5th quarterback for the 49ers.
Yeah, he could be. So I just want
38 days in concussion protocol.
38 days. Yeah.
I got to ask this, and I'm by no means an expert by any means, but just a common sense and a layman's point of view. How bad does your dinger have to be after being concussed to spend 38 days in concussion?
Well, I mean, it wasn't just one. That's it, right? It was one, and then 4 days later, maybe it was another, and then maybe another a week after that. So obviously a terrible, terrible handling of the whole situation by Miami. And, he's saying, oh, I'm going to play again, I think right now and all that. But, I mean, one more, and I don't know. If I were him, I'd be thinking about retiring.
Yeah.
It
sucks. But
talk about lawsuits.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so I thought I would mention that.
Yeah, not handled well. I hope he's okay. That's frightening. I mean, that's frightening. But yeah, I mean, we don't know. This is new science in a lot of ways. We know more than we ever have about the lasting and lingering effects of concussions. Mm-hmm. But, that the brain is a very, very, very delicate thing that's swimming in a little pool of water surrounded by our skull. So,
and that's part of this is that, yes, we know a lot more than we used to know. And we certainly know a lot more than the NFL is interested in having us know. And that's the real problem here is safety, player safety.
Absolutely.
Well, then why didn't you do something about this literally years ago?
My point is, what is
they started a fund, for the old players who, now after the fact, but you're not doing enough to protect. And there were other instances this season of other players who shouldn't have been on the field.
And my question is are these protocols to be able to clear the NFL protocol? Are these right? Are they strict enough? Because we know they're going to go, here's where we need to go. And we're going to back it off just a little bit. That's the protocol. So to say he's been in the NFL's protocol for 38 days, however long it's been, what it really tells me, what it really tells me is, what is a second opinion? What if you brought in somebody that was not an NFL doctor? What would they say about
it? That's the thing is these guys are supposed to be independent and not beholden to anyone, but you're paid by the league. And let's face it, what's best for the league is to have their stars on the field or back on the field as soon as possible.
Sure.
So can these guys truly be independent? And,
who knows? Good point.
Even if they're not being pressured, to do so, maybe they're putting pressure upon themselves to, sort of skirt or to get the, to say, he's okay when maybe he's not okay. Yeah. That maybe there ought to be 3 doctors independently looking at the guy, and then if 2 out of the 3 say he's okay, or if all 3 out of the 3 say, he's good to go, then he's good.
He's good to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to remember too, these concussions that these players and quarterbacks in general, but any player at that point, they're getting in the NFL. They're certainly not the first concussions that they've ever gotten. They've gotten concussions in college. They got concussions in high school. Yeah. My son played high school football for 4 years. He had 2.5 concussions because one was so mild it was barely anything, but they still kept him out on the mild one for two weeks.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and if you got a guy who's been in the league for more than 5, 6, 8 years, how many did he have before any of this ever existed?
Right.
You know, how many times did he get his bell rung? Who's the guy from Pittsburgh with the big hair?
Tua?
Safety.
Palomalu.
Palomalu. He says, I got my bell rung 80 times.
Well, yeah, they check the quarterbacks because it's more obvious with them. But
right.
How many,
but I mean, before any of this happened, he was like,
right.
I think guys were getting, at least minor concussions all the time.
Well, who was the first one that started it all out from Pittsburgh? Was it Mike Webster, right? He was a center.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, the reasons why linemen, or especially offensive linemen, are so subjective. I had a concussion in high school, probably 2, but one that was pretty bad. You're constantly, especially in those days, you're every play. You have helmet to helmet contact. A quarterback doesn't have helmet to helmet contact as often anymore. A running back does, certainly, but not every play if they're not in the play. A lineman, it's every play. So it's a numbers game. And you're constantly, and with Mike Webster as a center, I mean, think about the shock that he has to put his neck and head into every play because he's snapping a ball and trying to, bring his head back into position to get his body upright to be able to block a 320-pound guy who's literally paid to take his head off.
Right.
Yeah. So it's I mean,
how many guys? Who was the head slap?
Deacon Jones.
Deacon Jones, right? How many concussions did Deacon Jones?
Well, and Reggie White, and even Lawrence Taylor to some degree.
Sure. Right. Well, but Deacon Jones was sacking people and smacking their helmet with their hand.
Smacking them in the side of the head, right on the ear. So
yeah.
It's a better world now, but maybe it's
right. And the helmets are a lot better. Let's be honest.
The helmets are.
Of course.
Yeah. Things are better, but obviously
it's a violent, high impact game that I don't think people realize. I mean, if you get out of it without any permanent damage, and the thing is that you don't know when it's going to kick in. You don't know when the symptoms are actually going to show up.
Right. And here's the thing too, and everybody's different, right? Everybody's makeup is different. It could take 2 concussions to screw somebody up, and somebody that's gotten 100 might never feel the effects.
Now, look at
Terry. I was going to say Terry Bradshaw.
Right. Well,
Bradshaw.
He's shown signs of concussions forever.
Well, yeah, but he's still functioning.
He's made a career out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Terry, who do you take in the Saints Steelers game? I'm going with the Bengals.
You were going to say Junior Seau?
Well, Junior Seau, I mean, look at that. I mean, that's the most. I mean, he showed no real signs, at least outwardly, that he talked about. And then, it not only led to mental health issues that took his life. I mean, I think that what the NFL needs to do is not only have greater protocols, and obviously what they've done has helped that. But I think they really need, especially, with the not so big name players, the guys who, let's face it, made good money, but probably, maybe are not the big name. They're a backup guard who played 4 years, and
or the guys still primarily on the special teams, right?
Or the guys that are in the practice squad, because guess what? The guys that play in the game get it 1 day out of the week. The guys on the practice squad get it 2 to 3 days out of the week.
Yeah.
So it's they need to do better. Look, I will say this. I think the NFL, while you can't necessarily trust them 100%, obviously they have done the most extreme maneuvers within the last 5, 6, 7 years as far as player safety, especially vulnerable players that are really in the predicaments where they're exposed. Quarterbacks, receivers, kickers,
kickoffs and punts.
Yes, kickoffs and punts,
right? And some of the most violent hits in the game, and they've cut down way down.
And part of me, the kickoff is exciting. There's nothing. Kickoff return is exciting. I would be okay if they got rid of kickoffs. If they just said, "Hey, you start at the 20-yard line. Bring it back to the 20." By the way, this 25 is bullshit. Yeah. Bring it back to the 20. I know as a purist, I usually lean towards keeping the game, but I would be okay with that because let me tell you, as a player, the part of the game that I dreaded the most was kickoffs. Whether I'm kicking off or receiving, I hated them. That's where I got hurt was on kickoffs. It's just you're putting yourselves in positions that are just they're not. Our bodies are not meant. Our bodies are not meant to sustain that. And people can make comments, oh, whatever, that softy, whatever, cupcake. Do it for, and then it's and the thing is that they're not as violent as they used to be. If you look at old footage of kickoffs and stuff, they were crazy. And the other thing I think it does too, kickoffs now, is that everybody's either starting on the 25 or the 45. If you actually return the kickoff, it's like, I don't know. It just seems like the game it's played. Nobody's ever backed up into their own end of the field.
No, because where they're kicking off from,
right,
9 times out of 10, that ball's going through the back of the end zone. So it's 25-yard line done.
Yeah.
So
start at the 20, and if they got rid of kickoffs, I'd be fine with that.
Kickoffs go to the 20. What about punts?
I think you got to keep punts. Punts are just as violent, but the more times than not, there's a higher. You're not allowed to kick a kickoff out of bounds. You're allowed to kick it out of the end zone, but you're not allowed to kick it out of bounds. Punts, that's the whole goal. I mean, a great punt is one where the guy doesn't even have a chance to return the ball.
Right.
So
and it's, I think I'd have to look at the statistics, but it seems to me that way more punts, it's just a fair catch now.
And you could fair catch the punts. You can't, I mean,
anybody
not fair catching a kickoff.
20, is going to call for a fair catch, right? And anybody who's even farther back than that, that's about the only time you see somebody pinned back. If they see defensive players all around them,
they're either fair.
They don't even want to let it
out of the way.
Yeah, they'll just I'm going to catch it at the 11, and that way it can't bounce back to the 2 and have one of the opposing players down it. So we'll take those 9 yards, but I'm not going to run it back. So again, I'd have to look at the stats, but it seems to me there's a lot less.
Well, I think the last 5 or 6 years, both kickoff returns and punt returns have been way down compared to years past. So, I mean, a lot of that has to do with the fact that most of the time, any good kicker should every time be able to blow it through the end zone. If you don't, then I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're in the NFL.
Yeah, I think there were six kickoff returns for touchdowns last year. So, which seems pretty low.
There you go. There you go. All right. That's it. Do we have a Are They For Real segment tonight?
You don't have to.
Let me see. No, I don't have one for this week. I have a couple actually for next week.
Okay. There you go. All right, cool.
Only other thing with football, and this is just 10 seconds, not even. XFL kicks off on the 18th.
Yep.
Sponsored by Pickleball.
Dwayne The Rock.
Sponsored by Pickleball.
There's a bunch of rules changes I think we should talk about in another show because some of them are kind of interesting.
In the XFL?
In the XFL, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's some kind of cool stuff.
Pete's XFL rule rundown. I like it.
Yeah,
Pete's XFL rule rundown. We'll definitely do that. We'll do that.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a hashtag. That's a hashtag that'll light up social media.
Pete's XFL rule run. I'm going to write that down. Hold on. Pete's.
Whenever you hear Pete and rules in the same sentence,
rules.
It just the traffic spikes.
That's right.
Rundown.
Pete's going to go in depth into the rise in ping pong in Tampa.
Yeah. Pete's XFL rules rundown. That's the there you go.
Did I mention pickleball's being covered by the tennis channel?
Yeah,
pickleball's being covered by the tennis channel. You'll be talking about that.
Yeah. So, well, I'm just saying we were way ahead of that.
We were
on.
We got to get on. We got to get a little more on that game where they kick the soccer ball on the tennis on the table, and it'll be ahead of the curve on that one.
I think I told you guys I was in a seminar on community planning and things that you need to include in
pickleball courts.
Pickleball courts. Yeah.
It's the new skate park.
It is. It's a skate park for old people.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Not old, but
not old. Older.
Mature people.
Mature Gen Xers.
Well, listen, you got
and the ilk.
I don't see too many people my age.
You got professional tennis players playing, teaming up and playing in tournaments, sometimes against amateurs, sometimes against other pros or ex-pros.
Anytime I have to wear white shorts, I'm out.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
That's it for football.
So let's switch it up to the NBA. Harry, take it
finally,
away.
after an hour and a half, get to the game, to today's main headline.
Hey.
Look,
did something happen in the NBA?
I mean,
what are you talking about? What happened?
Well, here's my take on LeBron. I mean, number one, amazing achievement. I think it has everything to do with, I think, LeBron's diversity as a player and his longevity, and just the fact that he is a physical abnormality that's just we're never going to see again. I don't know if I've ever seen an athlete as powerful and as
arrogant.
Well, here's my point. Here's what I wanted to bring to it all is that I watched LeBron's celebration, and immediately after I Googled on YouTube when Kareem broke the record.
Mm-hmm.
And Kareem broke the record. He, as Kareem does, and you can criticize Kareem's personality, but I think at his heart, I think he was an intellectual and kind of an introvert, and his grumpiness was not a matter of him not. It's that, all right, I did it. Let's win the game. But he scored. He was immediately just surrounded by his teammates. He put his hands up, waved to the crowd. The crowd thanked him, but it was his coaches and his teammates who were embracing him. LeBron does it. He runs down the end of the court. He's in front of all the cameras, putting his hands in the air. Now, one of his teammates bothered to even, part of it, I think, has to do with the situation that LeBron's in. And I think LeBron's a great leader, but the difference shows where the NBA is today. And by the way, the Lakers lost the game. Not that diminishes LeBron's achievement. And I do think LeBron is one of the top 5 basketball players of all time. Whether or not you want to argue if he's the greatest or not, go for it. I'm not getting involved. I know how it's going to go. People under the age of 30 or 35 are going to pick LeBron. People between the age of, 35 and 45 are going to pick Jordan, and people over 45 are going to potentially look at the other players that also played in the NBA. But it seemed a little sad to me. It seemed a little anticlimactic and very sort of, it was the first time that I saw LeBron, the same LeBron that I saw during the announcement when he went to Miami. That was the LeBron I saw. Now, I don't mean to be harsh on him because, again, I don't really care. I think LeBron is great, but I have no love for the guy. I have no give a shit for his accomplishments. And I don't know why. I can't answer why. I just think it's because there's something. If you talk about Michael Jordan or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or even people who, Larry Bird, and none of them had perfect personalities, but I celebrated all their accomplishments very differently than I did this. And I don't know. I wanted your guys' opinion on it. There's something that seemed anticlimactic about it.
I think one of the reasons, certainly not the only one, but one of the reasons for me is that, LeBron, as are a lot of other, specifically NBA players, but sports figures in general, they build a brand, right? They build a brand around themselves now. That's the new thing. That's the thing. It's the LeBron brand. It's the Odell Beckham brand. It's the, what I'm saying? Now it was like that in the past. Like you take Jordan. Jordan was a brand. He didn't have to build a brand
before that. Magic and Bird together with the Converse.
Exactly, right. But they weren't all about that. They still were about the game.
Right.
For me, LeBron is all about LeBron.
Yeah.
And that's where it begins and ends. That's it. If he can bring some other players and a team with him to wherever he's going, fine. But it's about him. It's not about the team. It's not about the sport. It's not about the NBA. It's about LeBron. And that's where I think the disconnect for me is anyway.
Right. And then the story, the day after he does it, the story that's coming out is that LeBron had he had to light up, Anthony Davis in the locker room, and they're on the outs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I kind of felt a little bad for LeBron in some ways. And the person that I'm on some of these group talks on Facebook about, where they list, top 5 this, whatever, top 5 point guards whose last name begins with a W. But the other thing is the way in which Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has been treated during all of this has also just been like, I mean, come on. It was the complete opposite of the way the Maris family and Aaron Judge, the relationship that they had built,
they were embracing
with the league and everything else. And Kareem was nothing but, I think, gracious to LeBron. And likewise, I don't think LeBron has anything against Kareem, but the deference just didn't seem to be there.
Kareem even said he feels like it's partly his fault for not having a better relationship with LeBron.
Yeah.
For not reaching out more. It should be the other way around.
Yeah. Kareem is the most misunderstood person in sports history. I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is maybe the smartest athlete, other than maybe Bill Russell, to ever walk onto an NBA court. I really do. I think that he is his willingness and ability to step out and talk about social issues, and also to sort of live his life and accept his mistakes along the way too. There he is. I mean, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is on the Mount Rushmore of the NBA, and I just feel like he's just, the disrespect is sort of, I don't know. It's concerning to me for the future of this sport.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my take on all this.
Good point.
Let's just run down real quickly the top 5 or 6 scorers in NBA history, right? Obviously, LeBron, Kareem, number 3, the mailman, number 4, Kobe, number 5, Michael, number 6, only one who's not in the Hall of Fame, Dirk Nowitzki. I won't go any farther than that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dirk will be in the Hall eventually.
Yeah, he will. When you talk about, and this is why I think, John, to your point, I think this is a lot of where, I don't know where LeBron being about LeBron, I think, comes from. Because if you look at that list, right, who are the guys that are in the debate right now? LeBron, Michael, some people will put Kareem in there.
Most people, it's just LeBron and Michael.
And real defenders will say Kobe, right? But usually it's LeBron and Michael, right? He's chasing the greatest player ever in Michael Jordan, who he's now surpassed in almost every statistical category except for championships won. And I think, and everything that you said, he is one of a kind or one of a multi-generational. I mean, it's insane what he's doing at 38 years old and the way but he's chasing LeBron and chasing Michael. And I think he's reached a point, and this is maybe, again, I don't want to get into his psychology too much, but maybe he's reached a point in growing where he goes, what the fuck do I have to do? I think he wants to be the greatest. I think he does consider himself the greatest.
Well, he does hold the record in He does hold the record in championships lost.
Well, but I mean, he did say that last night.
He's done everything except win.
He has said he believes he's the greatest.
Yeah, he's right. He did, but I think he's frustrated because I think he's doing what I think is the opposite thing that Kareem does, which is he's letting it get to him. I don't think disrespect and all that you spoke about. I don't think that doesn't seem to bother Kareem. He's secure and comfortable with his place.
I think what I've seen, especially in polls, is that I think give it another 4 or 5 years, especially if LeBron plays another 3 or 4 years, I think you're going to see a split right down the middle. And I think eventually more people will shift to the LeBron.
There are more and more people going that way, but I really think he's frustrated by saying, what else do I have to do? And so he's because he can't come out and say, well, now
here's the difference.
Prove I'm better than Michael.
It doesn't, LeBron. It doesn't, because here's the difference. Okay. This is why after many, 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 you can take all the statistics you want. I've come around to say, okay, Michael's probably the best. Here's why. There's never been another player in sports maybe where if I know he's going to have the ball in his hand, and I know that whatever he does is going to win this game. And he did. Now, you could say, okay, LeBron's been to way more finals than Michael. And Michael never made it to the finals early in his career. Didn't even get close. And yes, he lost in the playoffs to Orlando when he was coming back from playing baseball. But what everybody remembers about Michael Jordan is that he's 6-0. Now,
right.
I could argue that there's other players that have that same impact on winning. I think the guy who gets a big shrift in all this is Bill Russell.
Yeah.
And when you talk about both sides of the court and winning, 11-0.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 11
that
championships.
brings me to my second point, which is, as far as stats go, things like scoring and who has the most assists and who's the best 3-point, those are all great things, but none of them individually mean the greatest player, right?
No, absolutely not.
Ovechkin might pass Gretzky for
Right.
most goals in NHL history. Does that mean he's a better player than Gretzky?
No.
No.
Karl Malone and Dirk Nowitzki have more points than Tim Duncan, but Tim Duncan's still a better power forward, you know?
So for me, and one thing that Bond said is, if you play long enough, you'll just put up numbers.
Right.
And that'll be used as a knock against LeBron. Well, he came right out of high school. He's got 4 extra years, But again, there's counter arguments to Michael's 6-0, but LeBron carried teams that were far worse teams than the Bulls.
I would argue that is overrated. That's a little bit of bullshit.
Because he didn't win any
everything. For me, there's 2 numbers in basketball that would be really impressive. One is 100 points in the game.
Right.
And not, it's the final day and we want David Robinson to win the scoring title, so we're going to let him put in 73 or whatever it is.
Right.
I mean, legitimately putting up 100, right? And the other is 11 championships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that I think Bill Russell's the greatest player ever, or I think Will Chamberlain is the greatest player ever.
But Bill Russell's the greatest
else
ever.
Right. Well,
right.
And also, Will Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game. Now,
yes,
I know. He was playing against blah 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 blah. Really? I don't care if those guys. You could have taken police officers. They would have played more defense than Russell Westbrook plays against LeBron.
Yes,
yes. Let me
but I don't put him at the top of the list. Right.
Let me throw this out there, and this was my point that I was going to bring up, and I'm glad you brought up Bill Russell. I think personally, whether or not it came down to being crowned or, enshrined as the greatest player ever, it's irrelevant. How he's looked at right now. LeBron's first year was 3 or 4 months after Michael's last year. Like Michael finished playing, LeBron started.
And LeBron was also 18.
Well, yeah, but my point is Michael finished playing in April or whatever of 03. October of 03, LeBron started playing.
Well, let me just say something before you go on. Michael actually stopped playing about 4 years before.
Well, of course, right. Right. But he was there. So my point is, it's the Bill Russell factor, I'll call it. Okay, right. If there was 10 or 15 years between them, nobody'd be having this debate, because people that are 10 or 15 or 20 years older would be looking at Michael Jordan, and more of the attention would be focused on what LeBron has done in the last 20 years, not what Michael finished doing right when LeBron started. It's just, it's too close. The player's too close. If it was more of a Bill Russell to Michael Jordan thing, it would be a little different.
And people don't even bring up Russell because I think time makes people forget about people. I mean, it's like when people talk about the best point guards of all time and Walt Frazier's name is not even in the top 40. I'm just like, what the fuck are you? You guys know nothing about the history of this game.
They knew
Pete Maravich was just a scorer. A scorer.
Look, know damn well that there's a lot of people out there that history didn't start until they were born.
Right.
So it doesn't. Whatever happened before.
Here's my other point that I'm going to make. Arguing who's the greatest of all time is futile because there's so much. Now, I will say this: if you're going to say, okay, there's going to be a starting 5 of all time by position, nobody can make an argument for anybody other than LeBron James at the power forward. Nobody can make an argument for anybody other than Michael Jordan at the 2 guard. Every other position is up for debate. Not to me, but you just can't argue anybody else in those 2 positions.
Yeah, agreed.
Right.
So, all right. Let's shift our talk to what happened a couple days ago in the NBA, specifically in Brooklyn.
I could not believe. I mean, I wasn't shocked, but I kind of was. You know what I mean? I mean, I was like, wow. I made the joke. Kyrie Irving's like the herpes of the NBA. Just when you think you're free and clear,
just when you think it's under control. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the bigger question, and I don't think anything's going to happen because tomorrow's the trade deadline, right?
Tomorrow's the trade deadline.
Yeah. The bigger question is, what happens to Kevin Durant?
Well, he's upset.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Kevin Durant's always upset. Do you guys think there's any chance that we'll see some sort of blockbuster trade featuring Kevin Durant before the trade deadline tomorrow?
No, I do not. I don't. I won't. I won't be. I'll say I won't be surprised if there is, but I really don't think so. He's out. He'll be back. Kyrie got KD to come to Brooklyn, right? But this is since that day, this has been KD's team.
It's always been KD's team.
Yeah, it's not Kyrie's.
Here's the other thing I'm going to say is that I still think if KD is healthy from after the All-Star break to the end of the season, I still think the Nets are a playoff team, and I think they're going to win just as many games without Kyrie as they won with Kyrie. I think the issue is really the issue is really playoff time.
Right.
And look, Kyrie is a phenomenal star. And here's the one thing, getting back to the LeBron conversation, the championship that LeBron won with Cleveland. Yeah, Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving and a bunch of other really good defensive and offensive role players. I always made the argument, other than the only guy who ever dragged a team to a championship with nobody around him was Hakeem Olajuwon the first time. Second time he had Clyde Drexler. And they knew they needed Clyde Drexler because they couldn't do it again because they know they probably weren't going to see the Knicks again with another guy dragging a team with nobody around him.
Right.
But Kyrie Irving is the biggest enigma, way more than Russell Westbrook or James Harden in the NBA. My question to you guys, as good as Kyrie is, does he make a team better?
No. Incrementally at best, I think. I just going back, he's not the difference maker that KD is.
No, of course not.
Or that anybody else that would fit that bill. I don't even think he's the difference maker that James Harden is.
I would say
I say that tongue in cheek. I'd say
at this point in their career, I would take Kyrie over Harden.
I say that tongue in cheek. But yeah, incrementally maybe. But he's a role player as far as I'm concerned.
He's a superstar.
He's a superstar role player, but he's not gonna single-handedly change a franchise around. KD, maybe it's gonna be a tougher battle for him to single-handedly change a franchise around, but he's more apt to do it than Kyrie is.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, any team with Kevin Durant on it, they're 80% better. I don't care who's around him.
Right.
I mean, there's 5 players in the NBA who can do that. He's one of them. Maybe 3 players in the NBA who can do that. The other thing I will say is for the Mavs. The Mavs they went to the Western Conference Finals last year, right? Obviously, they lost Jalen Brunson. I think Kyrie Irving is equal to, if not maybe on the offensive side at least, maybe an improvement from that. Does this change the Mavs' position in the West? I mean, do they jump to a 2nd or 3rd seed now with Kyrie in the mix?
I don't know because I still think that Doncic is just too much of a ball hog to have Kyrie make that much of an impact.
Well, what's funny is
I do more so like markedly different, markedly better of a team, getting them higher up than in the standings that they are already. But
what's interesting is I think Kyrie's first game is tomorrow, and Luka's not playing. So,
all right, now let's take a reality check here.
Pete, give
us
the
voice of reason.
Give us the state of the Nets.
All right. Well, here's the thing about Kyrie. Does he make a team better? Short term, yes. He absolutely makes a team better. He is a phenomenal player. He's one of the top 5 guys in the game. He's got the best handles in the game. He finished all the things, blah, blah, blah. I love Kyrie's game. Long term, he's an issue. Is it more help or more problems? Short term, more help. Long term, more problems. How he gets it? Does he make the Dallas Mavericks better? Absolutely. The thing that he does best is that when your star is tired or sick or gets hurt and misses a week or whatever, Kyrie can pick up the slack. And we saw that. Where he is a detriment, of course, is the lack of consistency and the lack of, apparently people like him when he's around, but he's just not around. And he's insane. And he's an idiot who believes that the earth is flat and that the COVID vaccine gets you sick and all. He's
the Kanye of the NBA.
Yeah, he's one of the smartest stupid people or stupidest smart people around. So long term, he's a cancer. Short term, he makes any team he goes to better.
Harry, should we put up the stats based on what Pete is saying right now that you uncovered before?
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you read them off. There you go.
All right.
There you go.
Kyrie Irving, during his 4 years in Brooklyn, 185 missed games, 6-7 record in the playoffs, 242 temper tantrums, 2 trade requests, 0 MVPs, and 0 rings.
Yeah. And the biggest number there is the 185
missed games. Exactly.
Yeah. This is a guy that couldn't play in the home games, right? Because he wouldn't take the vaccine. So, look, he's an enigma and all of that, but he is.
You think Dallas extends him and gives him a long-term contract?
If he gets along with Luka, they might.
Well, he's going to get along for now because he knows he has to.
Well, look, right. They've got 35 games, but I don't imagine anybody really wants to give him a long-term contract.
No,
and if he wants to go to LA and LeBron wants him there, as it's been rumored, and the Nets, Joe Tsai just said, fuck that guy, I'm not sending him where he wants, then he'll deny the long-term offer and he'll sign with LA anyway. So unless the Mavericks do some major damage this year, I don't see them signing LeBron Kyrie to a long term.
I think this fills a big hole on the Mavs. I really do.
Yeah, look, they're what, 4 games out of the second spot or whatever, it's not like they're in the doldrums and they need to win, 32 out of the last 34, 35 games.
As a Nuggets fan, I don't want to see Kyrie Irving blowing past Jamal Murray consistently, in a playoff series.
And you're probably, just look what he was doing with the Nets the past couple of weeks. He carried the team.
Yeah.
He won 18 of 20 when KD was out, So I would imagine he's, of course, going to be on his best behavior and going to play really good basketball. And look, Doncic, we talk about he's a ball hog, but maybe he doesn't, maybe he would be okay with not always having to be the guy, I
think that's what he wants. I like I said, Brunson was also a guy who did have the ball in his hands a lot. He is a shoot first kind of. He's not a traditional point guard. Yeah, he can pass the ball, and he's certainly a playmaker. So is Kyrie. Kyrie averages 5 assists a game, nowhere near the 11 that the reigning MVP is averaging as a center. But I don't know. I think this makes the Mavs a dangerous team in the West.
Oh, very dangerous. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're going to make noise. They're in 6th place right now. You said they're 2 games out of 3rd, right? Yeah, 2 games out of 3rd.
Whatever it is. It changes.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think I heard 4 games out of 2nd place. That might have been a couple of days ago.
They're 4.5 games out of 2nd right now.
Yeah.
So 4.5 games behind the Grizzlies. They're 2 games behind the Kings, who are in 3rd. So
there was rumors.
Neither one of those teams is, the Grizzlies are a little bit up and down, and I don't know if Sacramento's going to be strong enough to hang around anyway. So you might see the Mavericks up a little closer to the top of the board.
I think so. I think Phoenix is not as, dominant as they were last year. I think the Nuggets, while, they continue to play really good ball and people are stepping up even when, that not all of their stars are playing at the same time. And here's what might change your thing with Kyrie. Is it this just in? The Lakers have agreed to a deal to land point guard D'Angelo Russell in a 3-team trade involving the Timberwolves and Jazz.
So then Kyrie's your number 2. He's your 2 guard.
Yeah.
True.
Now, as for the Nets, listen, I'm happy to have Spencer Dinwiddie back in the fold. He's a good
Dinwiddie's a double, like almost, he's a stat. He's a good player.
He's gotten better over the past couple of years. He's 17 points a game and a handful of assists and stuff. Listen, I can't imagine. I don't imagine that they're going to trade KD before tomorrow. I think they're gonna. I don't know about the other guy they got. What's his name? Finney Moses, whatever his name is. But they got a couple of draft picks, and if KD wants to go, then he will go. They will have to acquiesce to him because that's the way things are in the NBA. But they might have, if they make a nice run this year, they might have enough and bring in somebody and say, okay, let's. We got 3 years left, and KD might want to hang around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he might want to prove, okay, well, it didn't work out with Kyrie, but I think he still has a chip on his shoulder about being the guy, right?
Right. Because everybody's saying, I couldn't win anything until he went out and played with Steph.
Right. You had Russell Westbrook and James Harden in Oklahoma City, and you couldn't win there. And then you had this, and so then you go to the Warriors and you join the super team, and that. So I think he still has that chip on his shoulder. And where else is he going to go where he's going to have a better chance and be the guy than if he? Yeah, but you're not going to get rid of.
That's the rumors.
You're not going to get rid of Joker.
No, you keep Joker, but you give up, Michael Porter Jr. and whoever the fuck else they want.
Well, if he's willing to, or look, maybe I'm sure the Joker wouldn't mind having some of the heat taken off of him too, right? He's got to be exhausted, after doing what he's doing again this season. Yeah. So that's a possibility. But I'm hoping he'll stick around, and I hope that the Nets will do what they should have done before all this nonsense started, or at least before the Harden trade, which was take those good young up-and-coming players who had defense, who gave you depth, all the things that they gave up for the Harden trade, and surround Kyrie and KD with those players, and I think they would have had a better chance. Well, now Kyrie's gone, so you can bring somebody in or whatever. You got these draft picks, build a good team, have KD be the anchor, and take a shot at it. Right. Harden can't hang around in Philly forever.
All right, quick question: do the Knicks pass the Nets at the end of the season for playoff spot?
I think the Knicks.
Will the Knicks be a higher seed than the Nets by the end of the year?
How far apart are they now?
3 games, I think.
3,
4, yeah.
The Knicks are in 7th. Nets are in 5th. Knicks are 3 games behind the Nets.
4 in the loss column.
4 in the loss. One, only 1 in the or 2 in the
2 in the win.
I think it depends on KD's health.
Yeah, I think you're right.
If Kevin Durant play, because you look at the Nets record with Kyrie and without him, it's virtually identical, right? It's almost a 500 record. Mm-hmm. So, but again, a lot of that time was without KD. So if you have KD, then I think they're at least or close to as good as they've been, and maybe enough to hold off the Knicks.
Look, and earlier we're talking about LeBron, and this is one of the things that I think hurts Kawhi. He was, I think, destined to be one of the greatest of all time. I think this is one of the things that's going to hurt Kevin Durant. And, they can't really control this, but they're always hurt.
Yeah,
they're always hurt, and that hurts legacies. And that's one thing, that you could say about LeBron is, man, I'm not sure if there's ever been a more durable player who's played as long as he has. I mean, it's incredible, and that goes to the fact that guy puts in the work, man, like nobody else to he's 38. He's 38. I mean, it's and as far as the scoring record goes, I think he's going to play for another 3 or 4 years.
Well,
says he wants to play with his son. So, by the way, Russell Westbrook also included in that trade and is heading to Minnesota.
Russell Westbrook's going to the Timberwolves.
Timberwolves. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, you said Minnesota. Yeah, Minnesota Timberwolves. The LeBron beat Kareem's scoring record, and he did it in 151 games less.
Yeah.
So there's that. Granted,
so that kind of wipes out he came right out of high school.
Right.
No, I wasn't saying that because I actually use that as a justification for LeBron because I don't think Michael Jordan might have taken even longer to get to the point where he was as dominant as he was if he came right out of high school. I think playing against the competition that he did in college actually helped.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Definitely. So agreed.
Westbrook's actually going to the Jazz. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So he winds up on the Utah Jazz.
There you go.
Fuck.
Russell Westbrook in Utah.
Man. Holy shit. Yeah.
Have fun, Russ.
It's
gotta be a happy camper.
The dysfunctional Wednesday in the NBA.
There you go. It is. Anything NHL we need to talk about?
Oh wait, one other quick basketball thing. This happened.
Go for it.
I think it was on the 30th of January, but I just heard about the other day. What happened on the 30th of January that hasn't happened since 1999?
All three New York teams won.
No. The Wizards beat somebody on the road for the first time since 1999. A Western team.
The Wizards beat the Warriors.
Nope. Not
the Jazz.
No, the Spurs.
Spurs.
I only brought it up because neither one of those teams is. I mean, the Wizards are sort of close to 500, I guess, but 22 games on the road, the Wizards had lost to the Spurs. That was a streak longer than I think anyone else in the NBA. So first time in San Antonio, Wizards going to win since 1999. 1999.
You bring up an interesting point with the Spurs. What is Greg Popovich doing?
Coach management.
I mean,
he's biding his time with a couple of relaxing, lousy seasons. And he's going to come back stronger than ever.
Or does he just not? He just doesn't want to be at home.
Yeah. Maybe he just doesn't want to deal with the prima donnas.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So those guys don't go there. I mean, what moves have the Spurs made?
I mean, they've traded some good players away. They traded Kawhi Murray away. They traded Devontae Murray.
I know, but I'm saying, what did they get back?
Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't bring in any superstars, so they're just
Kawhi Leonard leaves, and they didn't bring anybody back for Leonard. But
no, I don't know.
Maybe they had what's his name from Toronto that they got in that deal, but it hasn't really worked out all that well for them. I just I love Greg Popovich, and I do think that he just an argument that he might be the best coach of all time, but I don't know if I'm the Spurs, if I'm a Spurs fan, I'm like, hey, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Maybe the game has kind of passed Pop by a little bit, or he's just not willing to make adjustments, and maybe the Spurs are letting him, out of gratitude, letting him play out whatever. Who knows? He might retire after this year. I mean,
it doesn't sound like he wants to.
When's the last time they were relevant, though?
Well, they have no. I mean, other than what Jacob, how do you say his name? Poltel or whatever, the big center from, I don't know where he's from. I mean, I can't name another starter on the Spurs right now. I mean, they have Zach Collins. I think he's coming off the bench. I mean, they just don't. Are they just trying to save money and get draft picks? And they haven't drafted necessarily all that great either.
Let's see. George Udeng, Trey Jones,
Yeah, I mean it's
Romeo Langford.
They yeah, exactly. Here you go.
Podol.
Yeah, there you go. Podol's their best player. He's a center out of I think he's out of the University of Utah or something.
Let's see who's
Utah
making
State.
money. All right. Well, let me run down the salaries here. Well,
Yeah.
I'll do it without the names. 1.5, 1.8, 2.9, 7.3, 4.7,
There you go.
3.8, 1.2, 1.7, 5.6. Doug McDermott's making 13.7. Podol's making just over 9. Josh Richardson's making 11.5 million.
And he's not even playing. Yeah.
Jeremy Sochin rounds out you got a couple. Collins is making 7 or so, and then a couple guys at 5.
So they definitely have the most wins per salary.
So they're going to have $785 million in cap space to spend on a team.
But let me ask you a question. Here's where I think the NBA has changed. Are the Spurs able to get anybody to go play for them? I mean, a superstar is if this if SGA's contract is up in OKC and the Spurs offer him a ton of money. I mean, who are they? Are they even? You never hear them in the conversation for anything.
If they get a draft pick who is one of those surefire, right? This kid's going to burn it up. Then maybe. But because look, you got 2 guys making over $10 million.
Yeah.
And one guy making 9.3. That's
and one of those guys I don't think is playing. Yeah.
And, So that sounds like you get yourself a hot young can't miss, quote unquote, can't miss draft pick, and it's a couple of max contracts for some superstars, and you're right back in the game.
My point really is Pop and here's their last draft picks, Jeremy Suhan, Malik Braum, Blake Wesley, Kennedy Chandler, Joshua Primo, Joe Wieskamp, Devin Vassell, Trey Jones, Luka Samnick, Keldon Johnson. I mean, Derek White was the last name. 2017. I mean, that's the DeJounte Murray. I mean, he's
they have 10 players. They have 4 on their starting roster, the main roster. They have 4 players under 20, and 25 and younger. They have 10 of their players are 25. And
right,
younger.
but
it's a young team.
There's a lot of young teams where you start to hear about these young stars developing. I hate to say this, but I question their competency in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, these young guys are not making any money.
They're not winning any. They're not making
any waves either. Yeah. I don't know. Biding their time, maybe.
I
don't know. They're one of the few franchises outside of New York or here in Denver where, I actually became a fan, and I wasn't a fan because of necessarily any one player. I was a fan because of the team, and Popovich obviously had a big. And then look, they had a lot of players that are my kind of players.
Mm-hmm.
The David Robinsons, the Tim Duncans, the Kawhi Leonards of the world, even the Manu Ginobiles and the Tony Parkers. I mean, they were the top franchise in the NBA for a number of years there.
Sure.
And they've disappeared off the planet.
Yeah.
And I think it's a shame.
It wasn't like they had 3 good years in a row and then disappeared.
No.
They won how many championships? With 3 or 4 over this span of?
Well, Duncan won 5, right?
Was it 5?
Yeah.
But 5.
I mean, it wasn't 5 out of 6 years. It was spread out a little bit, so they were able to regenerate and reboot the pieces that they needed. Yeah, I mean, it was a overall damn phenomenal run.
Right. Yeah.
They've won 6 since when they beat the
they've won
Knicks.
6.
When they beat the Knicks in the 99-2000 season, they won.
And Tim Duncan's got 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's another guy, and rightfully so. I mean, he's the quietest guy in the history of the NBA. He makes but I mean, here's a 5-time NBA champion. I think without a doubt, the best, and I think even Charles Barkley and other power forwards would agree with me that without a doubt, the best power forward to ever play the game. 3-time Finals MVP, 15-time NBA All-Star. I mean, why is Tim Duncan never in the conversation?
Right.
It's I see people talking about Kevin Garnett is better than Tim Duncan. I'm like, what? Come on. It's the Spurs are a franchise which I hope maybe there's a game plan. Maybe they know more than I do, but I question their draft choices. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if San Antonio is not a big market, right?
No, it's a small market, but that's what's amazing about San Antonio is that they were able to build a franchise that just consistently won.
Right, but my point is in the minds of America,
right?
When if they're not
on television unless they're in the playoffs with Tim Duncan.
Like you're not on anybody's mind unless they're winning in the way that where are the Lakers this season?
But you could say the same thing about the Jazz. The Jazz aren't on anybody's mind unless they're in the NBA Finals every year. You could say the same thing about
right. That's what I'm saying because these
the Milwaukee Bucks, small market,
these are small market teams that America doesn't necessarily follow until they reach a certain level of success,
right?
As opposed to the perennial teams that have fans all over the country and they always.
But I will say this: for many years, up until even after Kawhi left, all around the country you see kids wearing Spurs hats. And they're not necessarily all from San Antonio. What I mean is that they were able to build this identity, this team identity that did broaden their fan base way beyond San Antonio. And
look, they were sort of an antidote.
They were
Think about the NBA and the rough and tumble image, right? Coming off the Bad Boys and the game as it was, and look at who their superstars were.
Right.
The Admiral, right? The Navy guy, Duncan, one of the quietest guys around,
and even their role players. It's Robert Horry and ML Carr, and Ginobili was the wild. Ginobili was the Tony Parker was the problem guy. That's how that's how reserved they were.
Who was the most badass?
Bruce Bowen.
Who was the most badass Spur who played on? You know what I mean in that era. Yeah. Whoever it was, he was nowhere near as as tough of a guy or as bad of a guy as the half of the other players in the league, right? They weren't bruisers. They weren't that kind of team. Mm-hmm. They were sort of an antidote to that era of basketball.
Enough on the Spurs, I suppose, but I think it's an interesting conundrum they're in.
It is. You would expect Pop to do a little bit more than he has been doing lately.
Or you would expect the team to go, well, Pop, thanks, it's been great.
Or that, yeah, right, exactly.
But it's time to, maybe out of respect for what he's done, maybe he's just sort of.
It has only been. It has been. It's been 8 seasons since they won a championship. It's
you could have Red Auerbach, Phil Jackson, and Greg Popovich coaching this team. That nobody's winning with these guys.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. NHL. Hey, you know what? Teams are playing. No, I made that joke when you asked that before about who the Wizards beat the Spurs and got us down the Spurs rabbit hole. All 3 teams won the other day. The Rangers, the Islanders, and the Devils all won.
That's nice.
So, and hey, in the East, the Carolina's still in first, but the Devils and the Rangers are there in second and third. So it's shaping up to be an interesting season in this area.
Are the Devils for real? That's
that could be the Devils for real. I think we did do that, right? Did we? Or no, maybe we didn't actually. We didn't get to hockey in the are they for real yet? So, but just sliding down to the Western Conference, the Central Division. Colorado still in the mix in fourth, but the West seems to be the East seems to be playing lights out, hands above what the West is doing. I mean,
there's more parity in the West.
Yeah, I mean the Vegas is in the lead in the Pacific Division. They got 64 points. The Rangers are in third place with 64 points. So there's definitely more parity out there. But it's shaping up to be an interesting NHL season as it continues. Obviously, the All-Star break happened already for hockey. I forgot to put that up. So
Nashville has a hockey team. I didn't know that.
Nashville has hockey, the Predators. Yeah.
I know.
I figured as much. So it's they're pretty far back though, right? The Predators, I think they're in fifth. Yeah, they got 54 points though. So out of it. So anyway, all right. Pitchers and catchers soon. We'll talk about that as we get closer to that. And spring training.
We have to.
Well,
can we just talk about baseball?
I didn't say we'll do a. Well, you say that every year. It's the third year in a row you've said, "Can't we just talk about baseball in May?"
I know, because spring training is so boring.
Well, I mean, not to say we're going to have shows devoted to spring training, but we can mention things here and there. There's a few things I was going to bring up tonight, but we'll stick away from baseball. We'll bring them up in another show.
I'm going to. I won't say May. I'll say that at about a month. Let's start really talking about baseball.
Yeah. There's nothing really. I mean, there's other things to talk about. So we'll have to have a really big basketball show, obviously, after the Super Bowl. But and speaking of Super Bowl, we'll be coming at you live at some point on Sunday. So keep that in mind. We'll obviously post it and going live for our annual Super Bowl Sunday show. So pay attention to the Facebook page and Instagram. We'll put something up as well. Anything else we want to talk about tonight?
I
don't know. Have you guys read anything or followed anything about this? The NHL has been stumbling through. I don't want to get into this tonight. Just having some Pride nights.
No, haven't heard that.
Yeah, so I don't want to get into it now because it's a long story, but maybe check it out because they had some basically poor attempts in Philly, and I think the Rangers too. Basically, what they were going to do is they were going to wear jerseys that had like rainbow colored numbers on them, for the warm ups.
Okay,
and then they were going to change and put on their regular jerseys and that, and they're going to say a few words. No huge celebration, but there's been some controversy because there are some players who are apparently followers of Russian Orthodox religious, and they're very anti-gay.
No surprise.
So they have kind of refused to. There's one guy in Philly that refused to participate.
Flyers.
Even wearing
it.
Yeah, that's it. And then the Rangers just kind of scrapped the whole thing. They had it planned, and then they just. So I mean, it's not worth the whole big rigmarole. But the NHL, maybe not surprisingly, not doing so good with Pride, with Pride.
Apparently not.
Or celebrations. Kind of perpetuating the tough guy image of the NHL. So,
I mean, a real tough guy would, go tell these Russians, hey, don't wear your Pride jersey. That's fine. But, you're going to get a rainbow stick up your ass.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, there are some people that are really upset because, part of this, the orthodoxy is, they condemn, some of the leaders of the religion. They speak about Ukraine, of course, and they, basically they say it's okay to kill those people because they have gay pride parades and stuff like that. So that's what their religion says.
Right.
So I don't know what you do about it. I don't think you can kick people out of the league for their religion.
That was the NHL players yelling at the State of the Union address.
There you go.
It might have been.
I couldn't tell by the mullet if it was an NHL player or Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah. But I think unless they're going to get, the players on board or whatever, because this is kind of like it was kind of like the national anthem thing in the NHL, in the NFL, right? Where we're going to kneel or, whatever. And then there were some guys that stayed in the locker room, because they didn't feel like kneeling. And
I mean, I don't know.
So I like maybe they should just like don't worry about it. NHL.
No good deed goes unpunished. And here's the thing, all right? We're gonna do it. We're gonna wear these jerseys. If you don't want to wear it, don't wear it.
Right.
Problem solved.
Right.
Yeah.
And you
don't let one person or two people
makes the most
ruin
sense.
the celebration.
Right. That makes the most sense because, okay, you know what? We can't condemn you for having your beliefs in your religion, whatever is what it is. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, but we're going to do this. If you want to come out and participate with your regular practice jersey on, so be it. You want to sit in the locker room and not get your practice in? Oh, well, whatever. It's fine. But we're going to do this. So have at it, however you're going to react, But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. That would seem to be the simple way to deal with it, right? Just you don't want to come out, or just tell the guy, then just stay in the locker room. It's fine because it's just for warm-ups. It's
maybe that's the problem. Maybe he didn't want to come out.
Didn't.
All right.
Maybe.
There you go.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So.
It's interesting, like, because there's a question of, do you want to allow intolerance, albeit in the name of religion, to, do you want to tolerate that intolerance in the league?
Slippery slope, right? Slippery slope.
It is. It's
because you're hiding behind religion. Your hate is being hidden behind, or your intolerance is being hidden behind religion. If somebody's religion was, and their leaders were preaching anti-Semitism, would that be allowed? Would you be canceling, Hanukkah celebration or whatever, whatever the case might be? I don't know.
Right. Or let's say a general holiday,
or Black Pride Month, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
So this is okay, but there's others that obviously aren't. So it's like, okay.
Right. And honestly, depending on which book of the Bible you want to look into, there's all sorts of things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
In Christianity that aren't so kosher either, as far as the treatment of women and
I have to write that down. There's stuff in Christianity that isn't so kosher. I like that. That was good.
So I mean, that's true.
That's a Yogi Berra-ism.
You can find stuff, some of that stuff in pretty much every religious text. There's stuff that these days we go, that's not cool.
Here's my take on it. It's like anytime that we can, especially for young people coming to a game, normalize or expose people to a diversity that they're usually not exposed to, I think it's a good thing. I think taking a subject that's supposed to be about equality and bringing people together by now allowing a vocal minority to turn it into something where it's doing two things that I think are harmful. Number one, it's ruining that celebration. And number two, it's sort of, I think, falsely accusing the NHL of being intolerant or homophobic or whatever the case may be. No, it's not the majority of the NHL. And even if people, it's not. So that's the unfortunate.
That's just one guy.
That's the unfortunate part of it. Yep.
And the third thing, which they're doing on top of that, is like in the case of the Rangers, they're preventing the celebration altogether.
Right.
And what I would have done,
they just bagged it.
I would have had rainbow shirts that said "fuck Putin" on them, and that's what I would have warmed up in.
Well, you might get more than one Russian player in the NHL who won't want to wear that.
I'm gonna say no.
Again, he doesn't have to wear. He doesn't have to wear them.
So your warm up is like 4 Americans and
that's right, 6 Canadians.
There you go.
6 Canadian guys.
I mean, I think the NHL is much better when they just have Gordie Howe bobblehead day or.
Anyway, all right. Anything else?
No.
That's it. That's all I've got.
I think we're good. All right. On that note, we'll wrap the show up for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And of course, all of our shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcast, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend. We will see you on Sunday for our annual Super Bowl show. So pay attention to the timing for that. And we will talk to you then, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Bye.
Aaron, I'm with you. I'm with you, baby.
Pete is back in black.
I'm back in
black.
Only till the end of the podcast. But Aaron, I feel you, man. I feel you. Come to New York, and we'll go do this for, I can't do 4 days, but I'll go and do it for a day with you.
There you go.
You and me.
You did it for 30
You can play for the Jets and win a Super Bowl.
That's right.
And then you can go, well, Brett Favre never came to the Jets and won a Super Bowl.
There you go.
Think about that. You and
that.
Joe Willie, the only two guys to win a Super Bowl with the Jets.
There you go. Something to think about. Anyway.
Please.
All right. We'll see you. We'll talk to you Sunday, folks. Have a good one. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.